where was Laverne?
Who, Laverne?
Laverne.
Laverne!
I agree with Laverne.
Laverne was Laverne again, named Laverne.
Laverne!
Parts of Laverne.
Laverne.
Life with Laverne.
How you doing, Laverne?
Man, you just said my name.
Nigga, who is you, Destiny Child? Nigga, ain't nobody said your name.
Damn.
Let me take care of this business, man.
A man is always hating. Make sure he understands the moment, because a man always understands the moment. And you know what else a man
The
does?
Davistar experience.
He says, give me my theme music.
So I was scrolling through the endless, bottomless pit of TikTok and came across a video that I find to be actually interesting considering the source. Take a look at this.
If you did some sniffing around, you might find him at a hospital near you, and it's not good. I got some pretty reliable information last night that there are phone calls being made to various family members about getting to town to come say your goodbyes.
Well, how reliable are your sources?
Pretty damn reliable, but I still want to frame it, Seth, in case he got discharged last night at midnight, and I've not been able to talk to my sources since yesterday. So my sources are that, and I don't know it to be true, rumor has it, allegedly Hogan is in the hospital, and I've heard people say that he might not make it. And it should create a feeding frenzy amongst reporters in the wrestling industry and maybe even in pop culture to check this out, but he's not doing well.
What happened?
I think it's a heart issue. I've been told that he publicly talked about a neck fusion surgery. I don't know if it's complications to that, but my sources say that it is complications to that, and because within 72 hours of him having this semi-major neck fusion surgery, he's out promoting this new wrestling.
Okay, stop the damn car. Now all of a sudden, you're reporting on the Hulkster. The same guy that used to be your best friend until you got all but hurt because you allowed your wife to let him lay the pipe down on her for a night. I got a question for you, Mr. Clem. Aren't you the same guy that decided that you were going to record the Hulkster, plowing a hole through your wife, and then decided to produce this tape and send it to a magazine? The same one that Hulk ended up suing and then getting shut down for $100 million.
Well, you can see Hulk Hogan here when he was testifying earlier during the trial, a trial that took only 2 weeks to come to a conclusion, and that conclusion came out yesterday. And as the verdict was being read out, Michael, Hulk Hogan, 62-year-old former pro wrestler, was in tears and was embracing his lawyers. This is exactly the vindication that he and the lawyers wanted. He's also been awarded $115 million by that jury. Now, just to remind folks at home about this case altogether, this is a several-year-old sex tape that involves Hulk Hogan, otherwise known as Terry Bollea, his real name, and his ex-best friend's wife. Now, the ex-best friend was actually carrying out the recording of this video. Now, somehow, Gawker managed to get a recording of that videotape. And so his lawyers, Hulk Hogan's lawyers, had presented all along that Gawker never approached Hulk Hogan or anyone else involved in that video for comment, for permission. They said it was not newsworthy, and that also Gawker did not follow general protocol when it comes to posting images like this on a news website. Now, Gawker has rejected many of those arguments, but clearly the jury was on side with Hulk Hogan and his team. It took them 6 hours of deliberation to reach this verdict, and it was a very happy Hogan and his lawyer that were outside the courtroom after the verdict was reached.
So somehow, this website got a hold of this tape that you made and produced the content of it, which exposed Hogan for being a racist jerk and cost him several $1 million in money that WWE was going to pay him. And because Hogan got paid by the lawsuit, now you've gone on this tour of starting to attack Hulk and going after him, and trying to expose his business, and especially trying to make yourself look like the hero because of his recent struggles and popularity. But oh, how quickly you forget. Here's a reminder. Weren't you on Hulk Hogan's titty and WCW, hanging out with him backstage pretending like you were just one of the boys? Weren't you the one that didn't follow him to TNA and basically got on your knees and begged him to give you a job, interviewing people backstage and looking like a complete weirdo.
He was known for doing stunts, and he's going to do a stunt here with Awesome Kong, I guess. And I don't know all the particulars. They had some sort of a run-in at television, and now he's going to air it out on the radio. And that is a page right out of his and Howard Stern's book. They want to be authentic. They want to talk about what's really going on in their life on the radio, warts and all. And this just gets ugly, where they have her, and I don't even know that she knows this is happening, discussing how much money she's making and where she's moving and all this stuff. And then Bubba jumps in on the interview and starts calling her names. Lots of unpleasant names. We're not going to repeat them all, but he even uses one where it's like, wow, I don't think you should be doing that. Dixie felt the same way. And 2 days later, she's fired. Not she's fired. He's fired. Bubba the Love Sponge gets his walking papers 2 days after this outburst, where he is challenging Awesome Kong to a fight. And he's saying that he's going to put up $5,000 and he's going to give the money to Haiti, who just had a huge natural disaster that was clearly something they had discussed in real life. She's frustrated, hangs up the phone. It was a gotcha deal. I'm sure Bubba thought this will make for great radio. And if you were a fan of that program, it probably did. But he clearly went about this the wrong way.
He was a bully. About it. It wasn't directed specifically towards me, but some off-color comments just about the general people generally raising money and trying to do something. You know, there were babies trapped under rubble. You know, we're humans first. You know, so but I had a problem with him before that. So because he was a bully, he came onto the set as a bully, as Hogan's best friend. And he bullied a young man to the point where the young man thought he was going to lose his job. And this young man is one of the hardest working young men I know. I can't stand bullies. And I've heard, I had heard of Bubba the Love Sponge before. I actually had listened to a show or two of his, and it annoyed me because he would use lingo that is privileged, you know, in this business. This Bubba dude, I don't know him. I don't even know what this dude looked like, but it's gonna be an issue. He's gonna do something. It's gonna piss me off. I'm already on edge with TNA. If he do one more thing, he got one more again. He's only got one, and it's gonna be on.
Did you confront him backstage? Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Okay. And now, did it get physical at all?
Yeah.
What happened? If you don't want to say, did you hit him or choke him?
Well, I'm not going to say because I guess he's suing everybody right now. So we got into it. Physical altercations should remain, you know, secret backstage. Vince Russo pulled me off of him. And, you know, after that, it was over.
We're here to talk about what everyone wants to hear about.
Well, no, wait a minute. First of all, we're here to talk about the fact that there's 4 inches of snow still here in Louisville, Kentucky. It's bitterly cold. The country's been in a deep freeze, but all weekend, my ears have been burning, Tommy.
Yeah.
But, you know, I wish, I have so much fun talking to you here on the program. I wish there was some way we could figure out to get some publicity for our humble little effort. You know, this little podcast that we do in front of 100,000 of our closest friends every week. At least last week that was the number. I just wish there was some way that we could get the word out that we speak the truth about professional wrestling on Cornette's commentary on Who's Slamming Who, but I have stumped so far. I wish there was some angel that could fly down from heaven and expose us for how right we are and how ignorant they are about professional wrestling. Oh, wait!
You know, as I say, it would be really cool if we can find a way to promote this show so big that someone like, just say the biggest name in professional wrestling ever, like Hulk Hogan, would hear about the show and listen to it. That would be really cool.
Well, wait a minute. Actually, you said the biggest name ever in professional wrestling, but Austin and Rock are unfortunately are busy. It is a humble little podcast that we do where we speak the truth. And last week, Bubba the Love Sponge, the god of the airwaves on satellite radio, apparently, and I guess he got a show in Tampa, I did not know. I knew obviously who Bubba the Love Sponge was because he's quoted in the Wrestling Observer because he's the simpering sycophant sidekick stooge of Hulk Hogan. So whenever Hulk wants to lie, he gets on the radio, and Bubba helps him do it. But I wasn't aware that he was involved in professional wrestling until he showed up on TNA Impact last Monday night and delivered the single worst performance in the history of televised wrestling. That's not up for debate. That's pretty well been the consensus. Have I missed something?
Well, he's a pretty good detective because he knew who laid out all those guys he said on the air last week.
Oh, yeah, well, he was squatting over him taking a shit on beer money that he thought actually I was entertaining when I said that. But see, Bubba, he's got to be a Republican because what he's done is he's taken a Republican tactic. When he can't argue with the logic or the truth of the statement, then he ambushes the messenger. And in this case, he was trying to hurt my feelings. And actually, Tommy, I know he hurt your feelings, talking about, which actually he went on for, 3 or 4 minutes talking about the unprofessionalism of our little podcast. The audio quality isn't that good. It's not satellite radio. And, that's our humble little effort. We never meant to encroach on his territory.
I thought they said this was WCBS FM or anything.
Which makes it all the more troubling when the fucking guy then encroaches in our territory and delivers the single worst performance in the history of televised wrestling. Now, I got to wonder, since he said that, another thing he said, Cornette's been fired from, WWE, which I have, and fired from TNA, which I have, and kind of proud of that one. But now he doesn't know I have a gig. Actually, he knows I have a gig. He just didn't want to give Ring of Honor any publicity. Since he was spreading it out, I don't know why he didn't. But anyway, he said you got to have a forum, to broadcast your views. And now that's the problem with the Internet. Everybody has a forum, but also you still have to have a professional show and be talented as a television performer or radio performer, which once again brings up the subject of why did he give the worst performance in the history of televised wrestling? He needs to stay with satellite radio and let us, the big boys, when he bumped Jeremy Borash out of the way, I'll show you how to handle this, kid. Let us take care of the professional wrestling performances, first and foremost. And secondly, he seemed to go on a tangent about how that, obviously I take this way too seriously. Hogan was on the way to 15 minutes. He played the clip where I explained that Hogan was on the way to the Impact Zone for 15 minutes by driving around the block and then came and got in the ring and said he'd been in the back all day talking to the boys. But unlike everybody else, he didn't get the meaning behind this. He thought I was taking it too seriously that Hogan was drawing out his entrance instead of Hulk Hogan exposing himself, which was edited off the Thursday night replay, as a blithering idiot for not even being able to keep his own story straight. And played this. So at any rate, I checked, Bubba the Love Sponge, when we say that, I'm sure his mother did not, christen him. His Christian name is not Bubba the Love Sponge, so I looked up on the Google thing, and his name is Todd Clem. So, maybe we can just call him my buddy Todd or cousin Clem. He talked about whether I've been fired or not. Actually, I got the gig now that I've been wanting for a while, so thank you. But he got fired from Clear Channel Radio for getting fined $750,000 by the FCC for putting shitty product out over the airwaves. And they fired him for it, and then they picked him up on Sirius or wherever. And that's fine. I'm in love with the idea that he can be a shock jock. But stay the fuck out of wrestling, little boy, because you bother me. It brings to mind, did he have a stinky performance where he was so obviously phony and contrived and fake and insincere and acting above it all? Did he do that on purpose to his friend Hulk Hogan's new wrestling project just to show that he was above all of it and he knew what was going on and he was more important than everybody else? Or did he just really have that bad a performance?
This is Bubba being Bubba and acting like a complete jackass to all those around him. No wonder Hogan decided that he was going to take the opportunity to take Bubba's wife and throw her around the bedroom for a few hours.
Hogan's sex tape really fucked up my life. It really did. And a lot of people don't know the truth to that. If you were to go ask, let's say that you two guys are walking down the International Mall and you walk up to anybody in Tampa, Florida, or maybe the world for that most part, and you're like, hey, what do you know about the Hogan sex tape? And they're going to say, oh, his best friend, Bubba the Love Sponge, taped Hogan fucking his wife, and then Bubba tried to sell it and do him dirty. There's truth to that. I did let him fuck my wife, and my home surveillance system captivated it, as it captivates everything. That's my only dabbling in the whole thing. The sequence of events that happened thereafter will absolutely blow people's fucking minds when they find out how this all went down. Now, I'm not trying to say, oh, listen, I'm innocent. No, I let my best friend fuck my hot wife.
There you have it, folks. This has to be the single weakest man on the planet, and now he's going around trying to attack Hogan as if he has an actual reason to go after somebody. Dude, you let your best friend slide in your wife and made yourself look so horrible in the media, and you think we're supposed to take your side. I hope you have the day you truly deserve. And allow me to reiterate, I believe the Hulk Hogan is a racist. Disgusting pile of protoplasm that doesn't deserve any success that he thinks he deserves. But Bubba is no better than Hogan, and every time he opens his mouth to speak, it shows.